Okay, guys, this is just a little recap, mainly of what happens when we have words beginning with Q in Latin at the start of phrases or sentences. We know that words beginning with Q usually mean who or which, but in English, if you think about it, you wouldn't start a sentence with who or which, so we need to switch things around a little bit and change the wording. But obviously, the whole point is to keep it, to make sure that it has the same meaning, not to change the meaning. So, number 2 here, we have the woman whom I had loved once returned. Okay, this is from exercise 23, by the way, boys. The woman whom I had loved once returned. Now here, we've got quam at the start of a sentence. It's feminine, it's accusative, so it must be referring to that woman. But we're not going to translate this as whom, having been seen again, I greeted happily, because that doesn't sound right in English. So we can change it to her, because we know it's referring to that woman. Okay, visam is the PPP, having been seen, but we can make that active as long as you keep the meaning the same, as long as you keep the same idea that it's her who was seen. Okay, so because salutavi is perfect tense, the PPP needs to happen before that perfect tense, because that's what PPP tells you about the timing of the action. So when I had seen her, that's how you translate in quam, again, I greeted her happily. Okay, number 4, the messenger announced the words of the king. Again, we've got a word beginning with Q at the start here, so that's a bit of an issue. This is an ablative absolute, quibus auditis, literally with which having been heard. Okay, so think about what quibus is referring to. It's plural, so it must be referring to something that was plural in the previous phrase. The only thing that's plural there is verba, the words. So with them having been heard would be a decent translation, but you've got the citizens were very happy at the end. So how about when they had heard them? And again, because this is in the past, this PPP needs to happen before that verb, which is why I've translated it as pluperfect. So when they had heard them, the citizens were very happy. Okay. Number 6, I have a plan. Now, we've got quad here. We know quad can mean because, but that would mean that that next sentence says, because when you will hear it, you will be amazed. And that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so let's try having quad as which. We know quad must be neuter. What was neuter in the previous sentence? Concilium was. So we know it's referring to that plan. So how about ubi audies, when you will hear it? Because then you're still showing that it refers to the plan. Now in English we wouldn't say when you will hear it. We would translate that as present, wouldn't we? So we end up with when you hear it. Mirabaris keeps the future. You will be amazed. Okay, number 9. Our soldiers conquered ablatives by land and sea. Okay. Quad, again, could mean because. Let's have a look. So, because when we had found out, doesn't make a lot of sense. So, what if quad is a neuter pronoun, so which? What could it be referring to in the previous sentence? There's actually Nothing in the previous sentence in particular it could be referring to, but it's neuter because it's just referring to the fact that the soldiers conquered by land and sea. So instead of saying which, when we had found out, it's when we had found out this or it. Okay, think about what it's referring to and then put it into English that makes sense. So when we had found this out, Gavisi Summers, we rejoiced. Okay. Now here's some bonus material from exercise 24, just 2 problem sentences here. The first one, we have issues with this word here, consulum. The first thing to note, and this may help some of you figure out what's going on here, is consulum is from the noun consul, which obviously means consul, and it's a 3rd declension noun. So where do we see the ending in the 3rd declension? Well, we don't see it in the accusative, that's for sure, because it's M. We see as the genitive plural. Remember, instead of aurum or arum, which would be the case for the 2nd and 1st declension. So, alter, one of the consuls, duxit, led the army. The main thing here is watch out for that 3rd declension, genitive plural ending. Okay, number 9. Now the issue with this one is these 2 words next to each other, which makes things seem a little bit complicated. So let's start with ali, and we're going to translate that as some, just like you would if you were normally translating ali. Okay, now think about what could be going on with aliyah here. It ends in an A. Okay, could it be a nominative? Well, look at the verb. The verb ends in unt, which is plural. And aliyah, if it was nominative, would not be plural unless it was neuter. But do neuter things say stuff? Usually they don't, okay? And in fact, we know that it's alii here that's the nominative. So some, we might put in the word people if you like, you don't have to. So some people say, okay? So we've got that far. What could be going on with aliyah? Well, it's neuter plural because it ends in A. And as well as the possibility of it being nominative, but we've ruled that out, it can also be accusative plural. So some people say other, we're going to put in the word things, which you often do when you have a neuter plural adjective. So some people say other things de Imperio Romano about the Roman Empire. Okay.